Can you really not say no to sexual intimacy with your husband just because you're a Christian wife? A lot of Christian wives deal with the guilt that comes from having to say no to their husbands when they request for intimacy from time to time. And then another reality is that some other women who have said, no matter what, I will be there for my husband, they end up agreeing to engage in these activities against their wish sometimes. And when this keeps happening over and again, resentment and bitterness builds up in them. And for such women that believe that they can't say no, it is because they have been made to believe that the Bible says you can never say no to your husband. So the question now becomes, is that really what the Bible teaches? Does the Bible say that you can never take a break from having sexual intimacy just because you're married, and you're condemned for life? Absolutely not. The Bible does not teach that. And in a moment, we're going to look at the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verses 1 to 6, because that is a major Bible verse that people that believe that idea, that a woman cannot say no, that a spouse can never say no to sex, they love to quote that place. But before we get into that Bible verse to see what it actually says, I want us to look at the reason why some spouses or some women end up having to say no to their husbands, even though they love them and care about their feelings. Because if we don't look at the reason behind, it's easy to label the person as a bad person or lump her up together with somebody that might be saying no for a very selfish reason, right? But a lot of wives who say no is not even because of selfishness or anything of that nature. So let's look at some of these reasons. It could be because of maybe emotional disconnection. So for example, if a wife feels that her husband doesn't see her during the day, it's only when he wants something that he will come and start touching her, then she will feel like she's being objectified. Still under the issue of emotional disconnection, it could be when there is cheating or when there is abuse in the equation. It's really hard for somebody to happily engage in intimate activities with somebody that they don't feel safe with, right? And then also, it could be that there are unresolved conflicts. Some men they believe in kiss and make up. Okay, there's a problem. Okay, let's forget about it. Oh, I love you. Let's do this. Let's do that. But some women are not like that. They actually prefer to go through whatever happened. What is it that we argued about? Let's get to the bottom of it so that this thing doesn't keep repeating, especially if it is something that keeps reoccurring. So if you're the kiss and make up kind of person and they are trying to connect with somebody that wants to get to the bottom to be able to get some relief, then it's going to be a struggle. And then another issue could be that your wife is struggling from mental health issues. So if you don't look at these things, you may look at her as a bad person. Another reason on the physical side could be that your wife is just tired, right? Maybe during courtship, there's that excitement. Oh, I can't wait for us to get married. Then we have the freedom as believers to do whatever we want together. But over time, as children begin to come into the equation, sometimes it will get way difficult for your wife. Even if especially if she's a career woman, she has to go out there and work and then come back. The truth still remains that even for career women, okay, a couple that two of them are working, you find out that in many cases, the division of labor is not fair. There is always that notion the home is the duty of the woman. So a lot of the chores get left for the woman. And especially when she's a stay-at-home mom, there's that notion of what is she doing? She's just a stay-at-home mom. But the truth is that a lot of stay-at-home moms do way too much work. You can't even quantify it. And the sad thing is that when you're dealing with little children, you could work all day and at the end of the day, everywhere is still messed up. And there's no thank you for that job, right? They are not being paid for that job. So whether they are cooking, whether they are cleaning, whether they are taking care of children, all these things are careers in themselves, but they're not being paid for this. So at the end of it all, you might come back from work and you think, well, I worked all day. Why can't she service me? Why can't she meet this single need? But the question becomes, is she genuinely fatigued? Maybe you need to step in and help some more. That might help, right? And then another issue could be hormonal issues. So when it comes to maybe when a wife or a woman is under her menstrual period, some women have low drive at that point. Or it could be maybe she's pregnant or she has just given birth. During those periods, depending on the hormones that are going on, raging within that woman, she might either have high drive or she might have no drive at all. So if you're coming at that point, it's like you're being a pest. You're harassing her. That's just the truth, right? And then it could also be that naturally the husband that a woman is dealing with has excessively high drive for whatever reason. It could be maybe exposure to pornography, or it could be even be a natural scenario. If such a husband considers that he has a high drive, we need to be thinking of what is the wife's drive like. If she's on the lower end, is it not almost going to feel like she's about to die having to meet these needs, right? So these are things that we need to really consider. But then I want us to now go to the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 7 verse 1 to 6. Let's look at it in the real context. And that was Apostle Paul writing to the Corinthian church, where they had asked him a lot of questions about getting married, about celibacy, and a whole lot of things in that regard. And then he's writing this letter to respond to this thing. And we know that the Bible is inspired by God, right? So we will take this. This is the word of God. Now, concerning the things which you wrote to me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. So in this case, he's just saying that celibacy is a good thing where it is possible. So if it's possible for you to be disciplined, or you don't have that kind of drive and you're someone that is purpose driven, you're just going for whatever it is that God has laid in your heart, he says that is the best thing to do. It is totally acceptable where possible. Then verse 2 says, nevertheless, because of sexual immorality, let each man have his own wife, and let each woman have her own husband. So in this case, he's saying, in as much as celibacy is a good thing, and I highly recommend it, because there are people among us who may not have that gift of celibacy. There might be people that have those drives. Instead of you to be burning in silence and lusting after, women in secret and defiling your body, go ahead and get married. Marriage is an umbrella where you can honorably, fulfill those needs with the person that you love. Okay, that's what verse 2 is saying. Then verse 3 says, let the husband render to his wife the affection due her. Likewise, also the wife to her husband. So you see that a lot of times when this issue of should I or should I not comes up, it's always the woman should meet the man's need. But in as much as the Bible here says the needs of both parties should be met, he said the man should take the lead, meet the needs of your wife, right? The wife should also meet the needs of her husband. So we don't make it, the woman has to meet the need of the man, and then we don't talk about whether the woman has a need. And why this is important, why I wanted to make this distinction is this. In as much as we are supposed to meet each other's need, the truth is that sometimes due to differences in sexual drives, one party's need might be, maybe she just wants a cuddle that is not sexual in nature. Maybe she just wants to feel like I am loved, I am seen. Just cuddle me and we sleep off, right? And that's a beautiful way to meet her need. That might be her need. But then on the other hand, at that point that she has that need, the man's need might be, let's go all the way. I want to show you how much I love you by touching you and doing whatever. But then how do we now manage these needs? Do we sacrifice the woman's need of not being touched in a way, in a sexual way, for meeting the need of the man that wants to go all the way, right? So the normal way in many marriages is to ignore the need of the weaker sex or the woman and go for the need of the man and say, hey, you have to do it because the Bible said. But at the end of it all, it leads to resentment and anger and hatred. A lot of women are walking around, they're scared of their husbands, right? Now, when the need of the man is always met and the need of the woman is always ignored, it's no more lovemaking and it's no more intimacy. It is not consensual in nature. You could even call it a rape. Because in her heart, you know that she has said no in all the different ways. I'm tired. And you're like, let's do it. And then maybe some men they start quoting Bible for their wives. And then if she's guilted into having to do this, then it is no more consensual. When the case is, the needs are different. That's where this Bible verse, the Bible says we should esteem each other above ourselves and we should bear the needs of one another. That's where it comes in. If a lot of times your wife is saying, let me meet your need, courtesy demands and love demands that you also meet her needs sometimes, no matter how the fire is raging in your body. Because Bible says that love is not self-seeking. Love will not make you to say, I want to love you by force. This is how I want to love you. Sometimes you have to love her the way she desires to be loved, right? Now, also, getting married does not mean that self-control gets tossed outside the window. If we read the Bible, and I love this Bible verse so much, we see that Joseph, the earthly father of Jesus, more or less, or the husband of Mary, he was a disciplined man and he was a man of conscience. He was a man that feared God. Even when he found out that Mary, the person he was engaged to, was pregnant, he was not happy. But he wanted to put her away, but not expose her publicly. So he's that kind of person that thinks about other people's, how what he does will affect other people. So he was an empathetic person. Now, Bible also says after angel met him and said, hey, she's not a promiscuous person, this and that, you can go ahead and marry her since you're already espoused. She's carrying the savior of the world. Bible says that after he brought her in, he didn't touch her until after she had given birth to Jesus. It could be for a variety of reasons. Maybe he's honoring the fact that she's carrying the savior, or maybe she has pregnancy complications and he's like, you know what, let me help her by not touching her. Whatever the reason is, he had a lot of self-control. And we know that when women are pregnant, especially after the first period of early morning sickness and all that, there's this beauty that comes, that plumpness. But he would have been tempted. Bible didn't tell us that he was a celibate person, because at the end of it all, after she had put to bed and weaned Jesus and all that, he ended up having intimacy with her and they had sons and daughters. So marriage doesn't mean because you are married, well, I don't care. Well, if you don't meet my need, I'll be tempted to go outside. It's your fault I'm going outside to cheat. In as much as you have that privilege of being able to meet those needs, but it should be done in a way that considers the needs of the other party. So what am I trying to say with all this story of Mary and Joseph and all that? What we're trying to say is that we should, when there's a difference in the needs, the important thing should be to focus on figuring out what the issue is and looking for ways to improve on it. So if your wife is always tired, how can you help her not to always be tired? Maybe you take on some of the work. Maybe you outsource some of the things she does, right? And all that. So then let's go to verse 4 of that 1 Corinthians chapter 7. It says, the wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband does. And likewise, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife does. So here, authority doesn't mean, you see, I told you, I have right over your body. You cannot say no to me. Come on here, lie down, let's do it. That's not how it works. Authority here simply means full access that is given willingly by both parties to each other to engage in intimacy when needed by reason of the fact that they are married. It doesn't mean that you have to now use force. I have a right to your body. You cannot deny me your body. No. Like I said, Joseph was legally married to Mary. And the angel didn't say, you know what, his name shall be called Jesus. And by the way, don't touch her until... No. There was no instruction to that effect. He was able to honor her needs, right? He did not abuse her, although he had authority over her body. So a lot of husbands actually abuse their wives by forcing them and using the Bible to blackmail them. Yes, a lot of wives are being blackmailed into giving consent that is not actually a real consent. Now, verse 5 says, do not deprive one another except with consent for a time, that you may give yourselves to fasting and prayer and come together again, so that Satan does not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. So this simply means that when it is mutually pleasing to both parties, right, engage in it. But then sometimes you might say, okay, you know what, let's not engage in this, maybe for the purpose of fasting and prayer. That's what is mentioned here. But also beyond the purpose of fasting and prayer, when there is any issue that is lingering or that needs to be addressed, like some of the issues we've talked about before, fatigue, emotional issues, hormonal issues, it is time to pause and talk things through, right? Reach an agreement and say, in as much as my body is saying I need this, in as much as it is my right, let us put this on pause. What's going on with you? How can I help you? How can we make this better? Right? That's what needs to be happening at that point. So while there is a free access, this Bible verse simply means that there should also be a time for refraining. There's time for everything. There's time to hug and a time to refrain from hugging. That's the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 3, right? So when things are like this, you need to be praying together, talking things over, going for therapy, making the necessary adjustments. It's not time to claim right. Verse 6 is the final verse that we're going to be looking at. It says, but I say this as a concession, not as a commandment. So he's just saying, basically, when it comes to all this issue of marriage, you have a right, you have the authority, you should not deprive. I'm saying it as a concession. It is not a commandment. So what it simply means is, intimacy is totally acceptable, but it's not a do or die. It's not something you pin the person down and take it by force because it's your right. That's not how it is done. Okay? If you're going to trample on the other person's feelings and emotions and all whatnot, real genuine needs, just because you want to claim your right. Men, that's not what God is like at all. So in summary, what this whole Bible verse is saying is not, hey, you must have sex with your husband whether you like it or not. That's not it. It is just saying that marriage is not all about sex. It is a mutual partnership to fulfill purpose. And then sex can be thrown into the equation to meet that need whenever the body craves it. I know that a lot of people may not agree with this, but I have noticed that all through the Bible, whenever a husband and wife are meeting for the first time, Bible will say, and this person knew his wife, and that person knew his wife. After God created Eve, he didn't say immediately and Adam knew his wife. Immediately Adam saw her, he was busy admiring, oh, she's the bone of my bone, she's the flesh of my flesh. We were not told anything about intimacy. It was right after the fall. That was when God now, and Bible now says, and Adam knew his wife. So it could be presumed that they were busy doing their work. They were engrossed in purpose, getting to know each other. It was not all about that, right? I believe that it is right after the fall. That is when all this excitement, some people go for marriage counseling and the counselors are explaining this is the style, this is the way. It's not all about that. When we make it all about that, that's when that entitlement and not caring for others' needs begins to creep in. Intimacy also is more than sex. That's just what I'm trying to say. So a lot of people have a lot of sex, but there's no intimacy. But you can actually be so close to the person, your hearts beat as one. And it may not even be that you are having sexual intimacy every single day, right? Now, mutual consent is the next thing. It is your right in marriage. Even the Bible says this, right? Because it says by consent, you can say, let's stop for a while. And so love also requires us, if there is an issue that makes it difficult or painful or hard for the other party to engage, then love is not self-seeking. You need to put aside that your drive, pause it, and two of you should sort things out. And then the final point is that self-control is not cast off just because you're married. So it doesn't mean that once you're married, anyhow, any place, anytime, whether or whethernt, right? What you need to do is use that your self-control to work on building an affectionate partnership that truly cares for each other. And if you do that, you'll find out that true intimacy, when it comes to even the sexual side of things, will not be that much of a struggle. And even if there is a problem, two of you can always work together to make it easier for the other party to do it willingly and with joy. So that's it for today's video. Thank you for sticking with me to the end of it. Kindly consider clicking the subscribe button so that you can receive notifications whenever I upload new videos. Also, let me know what your take is on this topic in the comment section, and share it with as many people as you feel like is going to be of help to them, so that we can know the truth about what God really says on this topic. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.